I have been thinking a lot about queerness and transness this week, so I'm going to talk about that in my video today. Hi everyone, I'm Kira. If you're new here, I'm a queer cyborg game designer in Columbus, Ohio. I'm going to make this one quick because it's going to storm. Yeah, I don't know, a bunch of things. It's interesting because on my Twitter profile, it says NB, you know, as a gender identification. Not everyone knows necessarily what that is upon first glance. Lots of people know that it is NB or non-binary, which is probably the closest thing I can use as a word to define what my gender is right now to other people. So that's what I'm using. And it's interesting because people will see that and they've started using they, them pronouns for me just by default, which is interesting. It's not wrong. I mean, it's fine. I kind of don't like any pronouns and default to she, her, because I kind of like the way they sound, and I'm assigned female at birth, right? But yeah, it's kind of cool because I don't know, I liked the sound of it for the first time. I liked that people weren't just assuming a default for me based on any kind of coding that they might be reading, and decided to just kind of go with what NB maybe meant to them. But here's the thing with pronouns. I mean, it's basically gender performance. It's kind of like, how is the world around you reading you, and how do you want them to read you when it comes to your gender? And for me, I would prefer no binary, not masculine or feminine or somewhere in the middle, but rather just forget all that bullshit altogether, because gender is a construct and I just like dressing certain ways and, you know, moving my body certain ways and talking certain ways. You know, I don't really assign masculine or feminine traits to the stuff that I do, to lipstick or, you know, shaving my legs, or necessarily the types of clothes that I wear. Like, just because I wear a dress doesn't mean I consider myself feminine, right, while wearing that dress. I don't know, it's weird and complicated. But like saying I'm non-binary, using certain pronouns, that's a way for other people in American culture to kind of understand a little bit more, at least about how I feel about my gender presentation and how I feel about my gender on the inside. Yeah, I was talking with my friend Blue last night. Hi Blue, if you're watching. And they were kind of saying similar things, and we kind of got into this train of thought of, you know, kind of like trans thinking. Like, this is just, I didn't think about it this way for a long time. I didn't identify my thinking this way, but it is very much like that. It's just kind of outside of these cultural definitions that we have. And trans is another word for being kind of outside of those things in my mind. Like in the English language, you know, transgender, transsexual, whatever, that's not really a word we use anymore, is a way to define people outside of the status quo. And, you know, it's a way for people within that status quo to identify other people. And so in a lot of ways, you know, pronouns, gender identity names, gender identity politics, all that stuff, is just ways that we can make it easier for cis people and straight people to understand or identify us. And in a sense that is exhausting. It is hard to just kind of like constantly try to understand my own identity enough to explain that to people. Because basically there aren't good words and there aren't really good definitions for how I feel on the inside. So yeah, trans thinking. What does this have to do with game designing? You know, I think that because I am constantly thinking of how to communicate these things I feel about my gender on the inside to people on the outside, I'm thinking of ways to communicate it in games as well. And I think subconsciously, I'm always communicating it. I'm always doing the work of being like, here is what is on the inside of me, you know, so that here's the best way and easiest way for you to understand that. Not even in terms of gender, but just in like all of my ideas or dreams or concepts. And the way that I shape my writing, my game design is always coming from that perspective. It is always coming from, I am an outsider trying to explain to insiders just where I'm coming from, or trying to defend myself from insiders, right? Or build a kind of fortress that allows me to have safety amongst insiders, you know, or even amongst you know, my own queer families. So yeah, I don't know, I guess I was just thinking about that. I'm not really, I've done some queer studies reading. There's some good stuff out there. I know a lot more, I think, about gender from a feminist perspective than a queer perspective academically, which doesn't really matter, but it just reminds me of a lot of queer theory. Queer theory is really interesting. It taught me a lot about my identity, and how to kind of, you end up doing like a lot of double think. Like, I have to recontextualize my identity so that you know, an overwhelming majority can kind of understand it, as opposed to the overwhelming majority trying to recontextualize their identity to be more open to all of these possibilities. I think a lot of people will automatically try to, even in queer communities, in genderqueer communities, and non-binary communities, will try to contextualize certain parts of our identities, or, you know, our performance, the clothes we wear, the makeup we wear, whatever, as masculine or feminine, like along this binary line, even though you know, that might not be really accurate for us. It's just kind of like the easiest common language or touch point for people to go to. Or, you know, femme and mask or things like that. I think it's really popular to do that right now. And I've seen some interesting activism on Twitter recently. People in trans communities supporting non-binary identities as actually trans, which I don't know, I never felt was in question. Just, yeah, I don't know. Happy Pride Month. Also, we're protesting Columbus Pride this year, mostly because of the Black Pride 4. There's a lot of intersectional issues, and so there's a community pride being held that is being run by people of color, and I strongly suggest if you are in Columbus to go to that pride instead, or support it monetarily in any way. Yes. Thanks so much for watching this video. I hope you liked it. Please like and subscribe to my channel. And I post usually every twice a week now. And please support my Patreon if you can. I am trying to hit my first goal. It is my main source of reliable income right now. And it is monthly, even $1 or $2 can help. I really appreciate it. Thanks so much. See you next vid.